Alright, solve one and two-step equations with rational numbers. That just means we're looking at fractions and decimals now. And since you guys like the other stuff so much, hopefully this isn't too bad. How can we find the solution to this first problem? So right here we got 3 over 5 times the x equals 6. So there's a problem right here. First we got this division, and then we also got multiplication. Now for me, I really hate the division part of that. So I will use the inverse of division by multiplying both sides by good old fiver. See, now the 5's will cancel out. I'm left with this 3x equals 30. That's great, because now I've gotten rid of the fraction. And yeah, some of you guys know the answer already, but whatever. So that's 3 times x to get rid of the multiplication. We'll divide both sides by 3, making that a 1x, which tells us what x is. 30 divided by 3, bam, is 10. So this is just a continuation of what we've been doing. You're just using inverse operations twice now, instead of perhaps only once. So let's look at this in a different way. Because some of us would say, well, that's 2/3 times the x right here. So how do I undo the division, the multiplication with division? So I would divide both sides by 2/3. So 4 divided by 2/3 is, well, divided by 2/3 is 1. You got x equals 4 divided by 2/3. We don't usually divide fractions, we usually multiply them. So we'll just make this 4 times the reciprocal of this, which is 3/2. Now that's 4 over 1, so to multiply these, 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2, and when we divide that, we get 6. Bam. Alright, so what about number 1 radical? What would we do? And this is a little bit different because we have not seen negative coefficients yet until this problem. But the process, of course, is still the same. That's 13 times the m. So to undo multiplication, we will use division, dividing by whatever it takes to make m a negative 13m a 1m. And negative 13 divided by negative 13 is 1. That's good. But if we do it to one side, we got to do it to the other side. Alright. So we got negative 39 divided by negative 13. And here's the problem I've been seeing is that you guys don't bring those stinking calculators. Some of you guys don't know what that is, and that's okay, because the calculator does know. You guys just don't have one. So here's what we will do, is use a calculator. Negative 39 divided by negative 13, and it gives me 3. Of course, we don't need the 1 there either, so just m equals 3. So today, especially with all these rational numbers, fractions, and decimals, I highly recommend bringing a calculator. Alright, radical. This is m divided by 16, so again, to undo the division, we'll multiply both sides by 16. And the 16's cancel out, giving us just the m. 16 times negative 2, negative 32. Problem on this one is you guys see negative 2 equals m over 16. And you see that 8 is the answer. Because 16 divided by negative 2 is 8 or negative 8 somehow. But no, we got to use inverse operations on these. Be very careful with that, because it is a common mistake which you should not make. Right here, if we can manipulate this well enough, we should end up with just the y, which is good. We're going to get y equals something. We just need to figure out what that is. So I don't want that minus 25 there. That's very bad. So I will make it a 0 by adding 25 to both sides. Then this becomes a 0. And 34 plus 25 is 59er. There it is. So it's important to keep in your mind organized the difference between either are we trying to find 0 or are we trying to make a 1. Negative 2 times a y. Of course, we didn't show that multiplication. To get rid of that multiplication, we'll divide both sides. And again, the idea is to make this a 1y. So we would divide both sides by negative 2. See, that's going to make that a 1. But I need to divide the 24 by negative 2, which is, again, I'm just using a calculator right now. Yep, negative 12. And we don't really need the 1 there. So you guys get so used to seeing those fractions that right now you're just going to divide by the fraction. Nope! We got to find the operation. That's negative 3 times the x. So to undo it, we'll divide both sides by negative 3. So the 3's cancel out right here. I get x equals 3/4 divided by negative 3. Then we can make that negative 3 over 1. And this now becomes 3/4 times 1 over negative 3, which would give us 3 over negative 12. And then x equals, simplify these by dividing both these by 3. And we get 1 over negative 4, which is the same as negative 1/4. Now we want to keep this as a fraction because decimals are pretty ugly. And if it's not simplified, it also looks pretty ugly. So that's it. That's it right there. Number 6. Yeah, this one's so nice because it's so easy, right? Well, we'll drop the why, but that means that we need to make that negative 25 a 0. So again, seems like we added 25 on one of the other ones. But if I do it to one side, I must do it to the other side. 0 pair right here. Negative 13 plus 25 is 38. Negative 38. Bam, it's 12. There it is. All right, like number 7. So how do we know whether to add or subtract or multiply and divide? So see how that 1/2 is with the x. It's being multiplied by the x. Well, we don't want 1/2 multiplied by x. We want a 1 being multiplied by the x. Because then we can just make that a x, like this. So how do we get rid of that 1/2? Well, if I subtract 1/2, then I'm combining like terms. And even if I subtracted 1/2 x, I don't want 0 x's. I want 1 x. So I'm going to have to use my inverse operations on these. So I would divide this by 1/2. Because what's 1/2 divided by 1/2? 1, which is what I want. I want a 1x. But if I do it to one side, I must do it to the other side as well. Now again, we don't usually divide fractions. We usually change this to multiplication, but when we do that, we got to reciprocate the 1/2 right account. So this would be 2 over 1. And we can make that 6 over 1 if we want. 6 over 1 times 2 over 1 is 12. Now again, we don't need the 1 right there. So this just becomes x equals 12. All right, number 8. Good luck.
Thank you, I might use
Oh, there's more.
Okay.
I will do it.
So you divide the 3/4 by 3/4,000 of 3. Okay. And then that's gonna be 1x. And that equals the 6, but I'm not gonna write that yet. Because you have to do the 6 divided by 3/4. But you have to switch it so it's, well, 6 over 1 times, that's a 6, I promise, 4 over 3, and that's going to be 20, oh my gosh, 24 over 3, because 1 times 3 is 3, and then you divide it, and that's going to be 8, because 24 divided by 3 is 8, so x equals 8.
That is correct. Excellent work.
The one
I knew it.
that I get right.
All right, so I'm just going to do the same thing on these, right? We'll divide both sides by 2/3. So this is negative 5 divided by 2/3. And yes, that becomes a 1x, which is great. That's what we want. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys how to put this into the calculator. Most of you guys' calculators. Some of you guys have the really super cheap ones, which will not do this, sorry. I don't need to change this to multiplication if I have the right calculator. Here's what I would do. I would push, and this is specifically for a TI type calculator. You got to find your negative button Then I would push the 5 button. I need some smaller pens in, but yeah. And then after that, I would push the divide button because it's divide. Now I'm dividing by 2/3, so how do I get 2/3 in the calculator? I said I'm gonna put that in parentheses, right count. We got 2. And then what's the operation of the fraction line, right count? It's division. So when I say calculator, divide. And this is 2 divided by 3.
Do you talk to your calculators?
Oh yeah, all the time. How do you keep them? How else do you keep them happy? Now I'm going to close that parentheses so the calculator knows that it's a 2/3 right count. And then after that, all I must do is push the equal or enter. And that should give you -8. No, not -8. Yeah, see. It's -15/2. All right, now if some of you guys got -7.5, if you got -7.5, we need, just put on my desk. We need to change this to a fraction. Here's what you're gonna do. And if your calculator at the top says TI something, it should, these are the buttons you would push. You're gonna push the button that's called second.
Wait, so the answer is.
And then you're gonna push the button that says PRB. Then I think you gotta push equals as well. Now what you may see on the calculator is this: 7, something like this, and then 1/2 negative. That's a mixed number that it gave you, okay? Which is all right. Now on the other hand, some of you guys may have to push this button second, and then you'll have to push this. It's an arrow that points this way. And that should change it into a fraction for you immediately, okay? Now if you guys aren't sure what to press, that is simplified. That is simplified. So some of you guys are concerned on how to do this. That's A divided by 1.23. So how do I get rid of that 1.23? I'm just going to multiply both sides by 1.23. Now again, this is the idea with the calculator stuff is, yes, these cancel out. We're left with the A. Now I've got 0.2 times 1.23. Bam, I get 0.246.
I did it!
Now I use the calculator to do that, okay? All right. So right account, this is multiplication. So to undo it, I'll use the inverse operation of division. And of course, I'll divide by 3.25 to make that a 1D. But I got to do it to the other side as well. So this tells us that D equals a negative 1.6? Try that with the calculator.
Wait, so yes or no?
Negative
1.624.
Negative 1.6. We'll just say 2. Writing that much is enough. D equals negative 1.62.
Wait.
All right, number 12. This one, once again, we got this multiplied by x. That's no good. So we got to divide this by 8 to make that a 1x, which is good. That's what we want. But I've got to divide this negative 1/4 by 8 as well. Now we should look at this as 8 over 1 so that we can reciprocate it and change the operation to multiplication. So that becomes a 1/8. And this was being multiplied by negative 1/4. So I'll take my 1s and multiply those. That gives me, we'll say that's a negative 1. And then I got 4 times 8, which is 32.
Should I simplify it?
Good luck. Yes, always simplify.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can. Okay, so, what just... Okay.
That's better.
So, first...
You guys need to talk, you're going to get sent in the hall.
So, first, that's going to be multiplication. So, you got to do inverse. You got to divide that over 3/4. That cancels out. So, then, you got to do that to this side, too. And then that's, you got to inverse, so 2 over 1 times 4 over 3. That would equal 8 over 3, and I didn't simplify that, but Yeah.
Because that is simplified.
Oh, yeah, that is.
No mixed numbers, so we'll just keep that as.
Yeah.
There's excellent work. Good luck.
Okay, so since it's 3/4 times the r, then you would do the inverse operation. So 3/4 divided by 3/4 is 1. So then you would have r equals, then you have to figure out. So then you would do the rest of it. So you do 2/3 time, well, divided by 3/4, but since it division, you would have to do 2/3 times 4/3. And then that would be 8/9.
That is correct. This one would be exceptionally nice with a calculator.
Wait, Mason, what does your shoe say?
I don't know. Okay, so, oops. Okay, so first we have to subtract it by its by itself. So we do plus 5. What? Is this wrong?
No, sorry, I just got a little lost for a second.
No. Okay, so this is 0 or 1 because you have to divide that. So this is 1. We'll just keep it over there, and then we have. But we have to do the other side. Yep, to this side you have to do it to the other side. So you do negative 538 divided by 67 over 5. Let's get negative. So we get negative 0.399 because that works. Or not, whatever. Jeez, I'm just. No. That's what I'm confused now. I don't think that's the answer.
All right, let's check.
That's just a 0.
Let's check. Thank you.
It's because I did a positive.
All right, as it turns out, we should have divided by a negative 5.36.
Oh, wait. So if you're supposed to do negative or
But we
positive?
should not have divided by the a, because a divided by a is 1 as well. We want to keep the a.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Now, on the other hand, it sounds like you did negative 5.36 divided by 67/5. That's a little bit backwards there. We should divide the 67/5 by the negative 5.36.
Don't worry, this is just a demonstration of what not to do, okay?
And that's okay.
Wait,
You're not supposed to
why
do that.
would you
A equals negative 2.5.
Dang it.
Everyone so far today has really liked number 16 because it was so fun. So let's make it even more fun by doing it. So I'm going to use the T method. So the first thing I should do is I should get those 9.2 R's all by themselves. So to do that, I'm going to have to subtract 5.514 from both sides of the equation. And what we get there is a 0, 3 minus 1 is 2, borrow from the 8 is a 7, and 2, 152.
152.72.
There, that's correct. Now this becomes a 0 right here, and we're left with this 9.2 R. Now that's 9.2 times the R, so to solve for that, we'll divide both sides by 9.2. And we see, again, using a calculator, what is it, 16.8?
I wasn't paying attention. You should say it. Yes.
6. Thank you. So R equals 16.6. Right here. Now we have a decimal, that's the coefficient of the x. That's not going to be a huge problem for us, because I'm just going to add 2 to both sides of my equal sign, which cancels out this minus 2, leaving us with 0.25x equals 10. Now we'll divide both sides by 0.25. And again, on my calculator, I would want to do this. So we get a 1x, that's good. 10 divided by 0.25, 40. Right account, same idea, but again, we got more decimal stuff. All right, on at these. Again, use the T method to get rid of this positive or plus 10.71. So I'll subtract 10.71 from both sides. And we get a 2, 7, bar 1 right account. And that become 6. Yeah. Then I got a 0 to 120.672 equals negative 8.38 of V. Now to solve, I'll divide both sides by negative 8.38. And again, using the calculator, yeah, that should be at negative 14.4. Negative 14.4 should be our answer. If it had more decimal places, that's okay. We'll just leave it like this. All right. Same idea on these. If I can get that n over 1.4 all by itself, then I'll be in good shape. So I need to add 2.9 to both sides. So that becomes a 0. I got n over 1.4 equals, it's going to be a negative 1, 2, 4, negative 2.21. Now I'll multiply both sides by 1.4 so that these cancel out. And I got n equals a negative. Bam, there it is. So we got that 3.25, and right account, we will have to add 3/4 to both sides. Now again, this is where a calculator would come in very handy. If you do it on a calculator though, you may have to put that in parentheses, the 3/4, which is okay. When you do that, you should get 2x equals 4. And then to solve this one, we'll just divide these by 2, and x equals 2. That one was really nice, actually. Right here. Once again, the same idea. We need to get the x's by themselves, so we'll add 2 to both sides, leaving us with the 1/4 x. This zeroes out. 3 plus 2 is a 5er. Now I got that 1/4 x. I want to get rid of that 4, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 4, canceling those, and I'm left with 1x equals 20. Of course, we can make that a phantom 1, and this is x equals 20.